Hey, on this week's Tales from a Gemini, my guest is Cate Dingley. She is a photographer who took 5 years to produce. I think it's going to be one of a groundbreaking book called Easy Riders about the African American motorcycle clubs of New York City. And she was accepted into that uh, that world. They welcome her with open arms, and she's telling their story through pictures and through interviews. And let me tell you something. I mean, I think it's going to be groundbreaking because I'll be honest. I didn't know about this. I knew, but I didn't know. And what she's going to do with this book dropping, it's going to be incredible. So she was so open and welcoming, and we had a great time. I can't wait to get the book called Easy Riders. The author, Cate Dingley, was my guest, and we had a great time. I hope you enjoy this like I enjoyed it. Hey, it's BT with Tales from a Gemini, and I am so excited for today's. I was talking to today's guest. I think she has no idea how much of a geek I really am when it comes to this. I was scrolling through Instagram, like I always do, and I come across a thing about black bikers. And if you know me, you know my alter ego is always to be a biker. I mean, to be like one of those biker men with the leather jacket and rolling to town with your boys. And I was talking to my producer, Wyatt, and it was funny. He goes, yeah, the first time I saw you, yeah, I can see that guy doing that. But as he's gotten to know me over a year and a half, he goes, nah, I can't see you doing that. He basically called me a pussy. And so I saw this book about New York black biker, clubs, and the photographer behind that was a woman named Cate Dingley. And I saw and I go, I've got to annoy this woman until she becomes a guest on this show. And now she's a guest on this show. Cate Dingley, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk.
I'm very excited. And how's the weather in Santa Fe right now?
It's actually cold and snowy today. Everyone always thinks, we're out here in the desert and, we're sitting in the sun, but it's like freezing cold and snowing. So probably similar to, where you're at in New York. You're in New York, right?
No, I'm in Indianapolis.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why I thought you were in New York.
Well, I got that New
Oh,
York
that's
kind of
cool.
vibe to me. I like that. I got that New York
Yeah.
kind of gully vibe to me, Cate. You know,
Well,
I
I
look New
see,
York.
I see, the cars going by. It looks very busy. You must be downtown.
Well, yeah. Well, we're
Cool.
downtown Indianapolis. Yeah, we have cars here in Indiana, but yeah, I mean, we're,
A
we're not-
few motorcycles here and there. Okay, Indianapolis. I just recently found out about a historic Black motorcycle club out of Indianapolis, one of the oldest clubs I've heard of yet. I just found out about them like 6 years into this project. I was like, holy shit. They're called the Mohawk Delegation. They started in 1935.
wow. Even I didn't know that. At least
Black Harley Club.
I think I know. I think I've heard about them years ago. Are they anyway? Are they anyway involved with the military in a way? Do you know? Because
They could have been like veterans, maybe from the First World War or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean they're early, 1935. I thought that
wow.
was so cool.
Wow, you are a dearth of information. Matter of fact, honestly, now just look at you from afar, and I'll stereotype you, and you call me out on my BS.
Go
Uh,
ahead, go
but I
ahead.
was, I was first of all, I think this project is awesome, by the way, and then I see a picture of you, and I go, she looks like she'd be an FBI informant, if anything. If she were gonna go to a biker set, I go, she's an informant. Watch her.
I'm not gonna lie, I think a few bikers definitely thought that at the beginning. They're like, you're saying the right things, but a little suspicious that you're saying the right things.
Well, I mean, no offense, but yeah, I mean, no, you seem prim and proper, and you seem just, I mean, anything but. But if you read on your site, if you read about you, and this is what I love, honestly, this is what I love. Last night, this is your statement on when as you sent me a link, and it said, "I've always been drawn to people who live their lives apart, those who lead a passionate, unusual, or transgressive existence on the edge of visible society. Their defiant independence, whether it's innate, cultivated, or forced upon, is why I make photographs." And that spoke to me, and that made sense. You know what I mean? Because sometimes when you don't have to look that part to enjoy that part or to to love that culture. I mean, I love 80s metal. No one believes me when I say it, but I love 80s metal. I just love heavy metal, period. And no one believes me. And I went to school. I had iZods on my. So I was like a little yuppie. I did. I had iZods and the little polo and everything. But I love metal, and no one believed it. So I can see that in that sense. So what drew you to that project, or just even thinking about the project? What drew you to that?
Yeah, so I mean, thank you for reading that bit of my statement there, because I think that that explains it far better than I ever could, just like off the cuff. But um, yeah, I definitely I very much admire and respect people who decide to live in their own way and are kind of like, sorry, I don't know if I can swear on your
Yes,
show.
yeah.
I
Be
swear a
yourself. Be
lot,
yourself.
but they're just kind of like, you know, fuck what other people are doing. This is how I'm going to survive and get by, or this is how I'm going to live my life to the fullest. I admire and respect that so much when, 95% of people out there are like, we feel this pressure to conform and that we're worried about what other people think. And that's not bikers for sure. That um, bikers are like, fuck society. Like, these are my brothers and sisters. This is what matters, riding and brotherhood and sisterhood. So, I had kind of this vague thought in my head, like, someday I'd like to photograph bikers. And I had no idea how that was going to happen. I didn't know any bikers. I didn't even know anyone who knew any bikers that I knew of. And it was just kind of like a thought in my head for a couple weeks. And I have this thing that happens to me with my photo projects sometimes where like the universe just like provides.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what happens.
Yes.
I put out this energy and it comes back sometimes. And so I had mentioned this idea to a friend of mine who I barely ever even saw. And she was like, I know a woman who's dating a guy in a motorcycle club. I was like, okay, connect us. So I met this woman. Her name was Chantel. She was dating a man in a motorcycle club based out of Brooklyn. Most of the motorcycle club, like most of the men and women in the club, were of like Caribbean descent, from Trinidad, Tobago. And she was dating one of these guys. So I met up with them one day and we made some portraits and it was cool. And, we were talking and we got to the end of, the little portrait session and they were like, hey, we're going to a barbecue. You can come along. So I'm like, yeah. So that was actually my first time on a motorcycle.
Oh my
I don't
God.
ride.
You were literally invited to the barbecue. You know how black people always say that when white people are really cool, they go, yeah, she's invited to the barbecue. You literally were invited to the barbecue.
I was invited to the barbecue and I'd never been on a motorcycle in my life. And I was a little scared, to be honest. Like, everyone always thinks that I ride when they're introduced to this project. They're like, oh, so you must be really into motorcycles. And I'm like, actually, I'm just really into people.
Nice.
But yeah, so I got on the back of the president's bike and we rode over to the barbecue. And this is in Bushwick, Brooklyn. We get to this big park and there are like hundreds of other riders there. And I'm like, holy shit, like, this is a real scene. This is like bigger than I could have imagined. Tons of people there. And then that was the start. It was a very, very slow start. Like, I definitely I love getting to know like groups of people who are very private, right?
Yeah.
Who are a little aloof. And that's definitely bikers. Like, they're gonna take their time before they decide that you're okay, right? That you're like accepted. And I respect that. It was a very slow start. It was like at least a year from that day until I really was in, but I'm a stubborn motherfucker. So
I love it. Now, why? And this is just an honest question. No venom. But now, why black bikers as opposed to like maybe a white bike club?
Yeah, so, you know, that definitely, I just happened to meet that black club. I mean, like, so that kind of just, I was interested in photographing bikers, and it just so happened that I met black bikers. But so that was kind of, it started off by chance. But then as I started to get to know them, and as my own, stereotypes and misconceptions about bikers were like smashed
Uh-huh.
early on, each time I photographed, I was like, that's what really became a really like important part of it for me. Was I, through all my photo projects, I really love to make people rethink their
Oh,
assumptions,
that's
and
beautiful.
and rethink their stereotypes, and rethink, I mean, what does a biker look like, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of us, and your picture in your head might be different as a biker yourself,
right.
but as like a lay person, as a non-biker, I think a lot of us in pop culture, we see that old tatted up white dude on a Harley.
Right.
Like that, I think that's what pop culture has served us over the decades.
Right.
When in reality, black bikers, female bikers, they've been around making history since the very beginning. Their history just hasn't been recorded as well. So,
I think, and that right there to me, and I'm a perfect example of that. I didn't know, and it sounds so minute, but I didn't know either about that culture because I'm just like you. I was basically in mainstream pop culture, and it's like I knew about I've always been intrigued by the one percenters, man, and that Gangland that came on A&E or whatever. I watched that religiously, and my alter ego is that one percenter, with the neck tattoo and the sleeves and just walking in with your boys. And I knew I couldn't be that, but that was my alter ego. And it sounds so crazy, but I never knew there was a black biker club until like Instagram. And I go, oh, we did that too.
yeah, totally. I mean, and even just, so when I started this project, I'm like kind of a big history nerd. So whenever I start any kind of project, I dig in and I try and learn as much as I can about what's out there. Like, and the photo projects that came before, but also just the general history of the topic. So I really looked into black bikers. And I mean, one of the things that surprised me was how little documentation there is. I
Yes.
mean, they've been around from the beginning. Like we mentioned, the Mohawk delegation started in the 30s, and we think of the white outlaw clubs that are very famous. And we think of them like, oh man, they're so old. Like one or two of them go back to the 30s. But like, hey, look at the Mohawk delegation. And like, no one knows about them.
Yes.
So, it was really interesting. I found, a small amount of research, but I also realized that what I was doing with Easy Riders, um, it was serving a bigger purpose than just like my own little project. I was like, oh, this is actually important um, in preserving this history and this culture, and to show people that this exists. Like this is also what a biker looks like. These clubs have been around since the beginning, and they also deserve to have their place next to these other figures. So let me have you heard of Bessie Stringfield?
Oh
Because I
my
just
God,
have to bring
yes.
her up.
I've always said I've
Okay.
always said that Queen Latifah should play her in a movie. And that's the first
Oh
person that
my
comes to mind.
gosh, there needs to be a movie on her.
Yes, and you could make it. You could make it happen because you're white, so you can make it happen. I think. I mean, I'm being
I'll do
dead.
my best.
I'm being dead serious. I think when I first read her story, I go, Queen Latifah would be perfect for that role, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I
I
think
can
she has
see
the
that.
acting chops, and she rides also, and I just think that story needs to be told. It needs to be out there. For one, the way the times are, and we see the truth coming out in the world, and how everyone has done things and contributed to society. So the time is now for that, and I just think that will be a perfect project to be out there in the world.
Yeah, that would be, I can see Queen Latifah. That would be good.
How about you?
But
Who would you count? Who would you cast as the lead in that?
um, I guess it depends, because I can see Queen Latifah now that Queen Latifah is a little older. I can see her like as an older Bessie Stringfield, like well established in Miami, like presiding as the motorcycle queen of Miami, you know, but I think for a younger Bessie Stringfield, I'm not sure. I'd have to think about, I mean, I feel like Regina King is on my mind
Yes, that's what I was
lately. I
thinking.
mean,
I was thinking Regina King.
yeah, I think because I mean, I just watched her in,
The harder
oh
they
my
fall.
gosh, The Harder We Fall, and she was such a badass in that. And I'm like, I
Yes.
could see her being like a badass Bessie Stringfield, but
Yes. Yes. That's awesome. We think alike. So that's great. Yes. I mean, what are the story now? When you first got indoctrinated, when you first went to that barbecue, like, what was your stereotype going in? And that day, did you see it? Did you see it happen that day where you started going, okay, this is not really what I expected, but on a good level?
Yeah, so I was definitely
Of
intimidating.
course.
Like it was very intimidating going in. There are 300 bikers, and I shoot film, so um, I've got this giant camera. It's like this big,
Right.
giant film camera. So I'm very, you know, as you said, I look like an FBI informant, so I kind of stand out a little bit, and I'm like, I mean, you can't see this. I'm like 100 pounds. I'm like a super scrawny little white girl here. So, um,
You said that. Your words, not mine. Your words, not mine.
so yeah, it was intimidating going in, but I was struck by, so there are, you know, these like tough looking one percenter guys, but there are also families, right? Little kids running around, you know, the wives and the girlfriends hanging out, just like very like convivial, like just very like family friendly. I mean, like your normal kind of backyard barbecue, right? Like the whole family's there,
Yes.
everyone's chilling out, everyone's just like talking and relaxed. And you know, you didn't see like, I mean, at least at this event, you don't see uh like mean mugging, as one of the guys I was interviewing for the book talked about. You know, you don't see like the discord between the clubs that you sometimes see. It was just very, very nice, peaceful, like family oriented afternoon. So I think that was one thing that struck me immediately. It was just like how it's not just about the bikers, it's about the whole family. Like there's really the emphasis on the like the whole family almost as part of the club.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And yeah, and almost like you're born into it in a way. I mean, I'm sure they have free choice, but man, because you see in your pictures, and by the way, those pictures, I'm so glad you did it in black and white. There's something about black and white that just it captures a certain je ne sais quoi. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool. But a certain je ne sais quoi.
yeah.
And it's so true because you see them with their kids, the kids on the bicycle, and they're on their motorcycle, but you know, you see the kids with their motorcycle helmets and they're on their bicycles or they're with them, and it is all about family with them. And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah, so part of the book, I mean, it's mostly photos, but I also did interviews with 10 different riders in the scene. I tried to choose people who would all give like diverse viewpoints that came from had different histories, came from different types of clubs. So one of the guys I interviewed, he actually talks about growing up in this scene, right? I think he's like in his 60s now.
Yeah.
So, you know, decades past growing up in the scene in Brooklyn, he talks about like, you know, as kids, we loved bikers. Like as kids, you know, you just like, you know, if you go to the bike club with your family, like you just ride around on your little bike or a little motorized bike, and you know they're always there with like a snack and a Coke for you. And you know, if your tires go flat, you know, you go to the bike club on the corner and they've got air for you. And you know, if anything's wrong, you go to one of these guys.
Right.
And they just talk about that feeling of like safety,
Yeah.
that like home away from home, which I thought was really, really special, because I think most of us don't have that growing up, and especially like in a city environment like that where you can just like, I mean, who would like now in New York City just let their kid like ride a couple blocks away to the local motorcycle club? But like that's like the safest place they could be.
Right. 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 Now,
So it's kind of cool.
Now, I mean, I know there's different type of bikers. We'll get to that, but I always want to know, like, did you talk to the outlaw bike? I mean, the one percenters were like, this is the guys that if they're gonna fit a stereotype, these are the guys. Did you talk to them, and was that intimidating? And did anybody like, I don't know, were like less than, received you, less than warming, and then maybe they finally warmed up, or maybe they didn't.
It's in that scene, it's all about like who you know and if someone is vouching for you.
Hmm.
So yeah, I spoke with a few one percenter clubs. I'm not gonna name any names,
Yeah,
sorry,
you can't
but
do that. Can't do that.
um
Can't do that. Then you'll be an informant, and then you have to go. Then you have to go.
yeah. So I had just only one like incident, I guess. I was traveling with a club. We went to an event in Baltimore, actually, a little weekend road trip. And there were a bunch of clubs there for this party. And I was taking a photo of a guy outside on his bike. It was at night, so I had my flash going off. And
Oh.
like 30 feet away, there was a one percenter who noticed the flash going off, and he came over to me and he's like, hey, did you take my photo? And I was like, no, I was taking a photo of this guy here. I wouldn't take your photo without asking. And he's like, I'm gonna need you to delete that picture right now. And I was like, I'm shooting film. Sorry, like, take a look at my camera. I can't delete. But we talked, and he's like, okay, it's a little suspicious. But that was the only like, in terms of, there was one percenter club that I hung out with a bit in New York. And I connected with them. It's like it's this big complicated web. It's this big system in the community that like I had a good word from someone who connected me with one of the members. And then one of the members takes me to the president of this one percenter club. I had a good talk with him. And he's like, this is the great thing when you're photographing bikers as opposed to any other group.
Yeah.
You have a good talk with the president, and the president's like, you can photograph anything you want here. And if anyone gives you any hassle, you send them to me. No one wants to be sent to this guy. So,
Nice,
then
nice. Oh,
then I'm like, okay, sweet. I'm walking around, and a few guys in the club were like, hey, like, do you have like permission? I'm like, yep, go talk to Prez, and they're like, oh, okay, you're good. So
nice. So you had carte blanche.
yeah, with this one club, that's kind of nice about the hierarchy of the motorcycle world, is that, if you form relationships with the right people, then like you get approved. You get the carte blanche, you get the seal of approval, and you have the freedom to move around, which as a photographer is so valuable.
Yes, yes. I did at one time. Did you like want it? Did you learn how to ride during that time? Did you want to learn how to ride during that time? Did you get a tattoo? Maybe just a little bitty one. I mean, did it rub off? Did it rub off on you at all in a way?
I definitely was considering like riding classes, and I took a few more rides like on the backs of bikes just to get from here to there, because I was in New York City. I didn't have a car. So I'd get rides to biker events and stuff. And but yeah, everyone's always so shocked about this. I almost died in a car accident when I was 13. So I'm like already a little bit scared just of cars. So
Yeah.
I mean, I have I have a big, scar across my head. I have screws in my head, and I know now even more than I did when I started this project, just how dangerous riding motorcycle is.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I went to so many memorials. There were so many accidents all the time.
Yeah.
So um, I'm intrigued, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever ride. Like I said, I'm obsessed with people, and I
Yeah.
just became obsessed with, the culture and the people that I met.
Well,
So
well, sometimes. Well,
for
some.
me, motorcycles are secondary. They're awesome. They're beautiful to look
Yeah.
at. I love the sound.
Yes.
I love everything that comes with it. But yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
when you're around it, I mean, even to this day, I'm a grown ass man, and still sometimes it just rubs off on you. You know, it's like it just kind of becomes you. Like, like honestly, normally, well, it is cold in here, but normally I wear this T-shirt that says Wave One Media. But today, because I was interviewing you and biker clubs, just show you how much of a dork I am, I decided to wear my hoodie, my riding hoodie. And so I wore that. That's how much of a
Nice.
dork I am. I was all 1%ed up coming in. I really was. That's how excited I was to talk to you. So I just want to know, did it like made you think about maybe getting a tattoo, maybe of something that made you think of them? And I love how you keep it's all, you're almost on code in the sense of you say you were with 1% gang, but you won't tell the name of the gang, which I won't even ask you what it is because I know how that goes. But I just love how you
If
keep
you
it.
read my book, you might figure it out.
Well, oh, trust me, I'm ordering your book, and I'm not just saying that. I'm ordering your book. I'm the kind of dork, and anybody knows me knows I'm that kind of guy. That's why I call the ultimate Gemini. I'm a Gemini. When I like something, I like something. That's why I kept going. Come on, please do my podcast. So I mean, it's the truth though. So I'm definitely gonna get the book. But yeah, you keep it like you don't tell the name of the club, which I think is beautiful because it shows that you respected that trust.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. Look, I never thought that I would spend, I started photographing in 2014.
Hmm.
It's 2022. Finally, the book's coming out. I've been working on the book since 2018.
Wow.
But I never thought that I would be doing this project for so long. It's the longest I've ever spent on any documentary project, and it flew by. But it's all about that trust and that respect. And still, I think I'll be going back to one or two of my favorite events in New York every year. I mean, it's it's not just business for me.
Yeah. That, like.
Like when you do
Yeah.
yeah, when you do projects like this, I mean, these are real relationships, and I really care about some of the people that I met and I formed relationships with. And like, I think they're my friends for life now. So it doesn't just stop. I want to make sure that the clubs really, I'm not gonna censor myself.
Right.
And I was clear, like, I think I was clear with my intentions with the clubs, about what I wanted to do. Like, and look, if it's happening in front of me, I'm going to take a photo, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to censor, but I definitely want everyone to feel really good about this book. And I want it to be something that they're proud of. That's super important to me.
Well, I saw on Instagram, some of the comments people have made that, that you shot photos of, or I guess they're in their club, and they were like really, really happy with you. And they were like, and I could just tell that was sincere because, I mean, you just tell it from the text how sincere they were and how they basically thanked you for doing that. And you were very, thankful to them allowing you in, to see that. And some of your all of your photos, but there's two that are iconic and I think are beautiful. I'm talking to you about was one, you could tell the two women were, I don't know, a relationship, but they were intimate with each other. And it was beautiful to see. It was kind of like you could tell she liked her or whatever. And it was one of those kind of things where, I don't know, you could tell that there was a relationship there, or maybe her trying. And another one was the black guy with his shirt off, and he had a swastika on. And that was something that blew me away. Now, do you remember that photo? And talk to me about that photo. We'll do this in editing, so hopefully they'll why to show it. But that was the one that made me go, wow. I mean, I've never seen a black guy with a swastika on.
Okay, so let me break that down, because that photo does get a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So that's a guy named Preach. He's a great friend. He's actually contributing a biker's glossary to the book. So he's going to break down all of these, like the biker jargon, terminology that you'll come across in the book, and that you're like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
But he's a really knowledgeable guy. He's been in the world for a while. I don't know if he'll want me to say this. I say it in the book. So he's a former 1%er. He's an independent rider now. So his tattoo, it's hard to see in the photo. It's actually a swastika with a strike through.
Okay.
So he was with a Jewish friend, and I guess there was like an anti-Semitic incident. Someone said something to his friend, and he actually got that in solidarity against racism with his friend. But you do see in the biker world, even in the Black biker world, some symbols like the swastika, like the Iron Cross, which is traditionally like a white supremacist symbol. You
Right.
see a lot of bikers, especially with the Iron Cross, you see a lot of Black bikers wearing that.
Right.
For them, it's not white supremacy related. It's more of a it's more of a disavowal of like standard conservative society,
Societal
right?
norms.
It's more of, yeah, it's more of saying like, don't bug me, leave me
Don't fuck with me,
alone, like
basically. Don't.
I'm a badass,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Don't fuck with me, and I won't fuck with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Because that one to me, that was what I was like, wow. And I was like, I knew when I saw that photo, I had to mention that to you on that one, and that, and also like when you break it down in the bikers, because I know you, like you said, you interviewed a variety of them. Like, what did you find out? Like the different types of bikers, yeah. Like, what did you find out between like I know there had to be, and I'm going to learn there had to be maybe gay bikers or alternative lifestyle bikers or whatever. Did you find that inside clubs?
Yeah, so actually the photo that you mentioned, of the two women kind of almost
Yeah.
kissing, uh, yeah, so they were actually in a car club, which some car clubs are in this community, um, hang out with the motorcycle club. So I mean, you came across some gay bikers here and there. I guess in terms of the people I interviewed, I just interviewed 10 because I didn't want to get in over my head, and we had like, 3, 4 hour interviews. They just like, it was amazing how they really surprised me with how in depth they were, how much people opened up. But um, one of my interviews was a woman in the scene who goes by Church Lady,
Uh-huh.
who is a pastor who started riding in her 60s because she felt like she wanted to minister to the bike community. Um, in her late 60s, she buys a motorcycle so that she can better like embed herself in this world and connect with the people she was pastoring to. So, that's a really interesting story.
I
Um,
love that. I love that. In your 60s. That just it goes on with my way of thinking in that you always leave your mind limitless because that way, you're exploring this world, like, I believe, until you're dead. You know what I mean? That's just my belief. You always explore, you try to get better, you try to learn until that final day when time's up. I always want to say when time's up, I want to look back and have enough time and go, okay, yeah, I did it. Like, I learned till the last moment.
yeah, totally. I love that. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, people are, there's nothing so interesting as people on this planet. I mean, I'll never get sick of going out into the world and meeting these incredible people. But yeah, another writer I interview, her name is Shifty. I thought her story was really interesting because she was born and raised in the Bronx. She had her aunt's husband was a Black Falcon, which is a club in the Bronx. But she never saw any female riders
Right.
until she got to a certain age. She loved motorcycles, but because she didn't see that representation,
Right?
she never thought that it was a possibility for her to become a biker.
Yeah.
Until later on, she met a woman in Harlem named Suicide, who was starting a female club, and now Shifty is the president of a club called the Black Pearls, which is a nationwide club.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just thought that was amazing as well, that the power of representation and what it means to see someone who looks like you doing this. I mean, and
It means the
yeah, and now
world.
Shifty is such like a great ambassador for the culture, and she's so knowledgeable. She spent so much time trying to educate herself on um, MC world tradition and protocol, even though even though women in the MC world are not always accepted,
Well, yeah.
she's really like, she's done it.
Well, that representation means everything, and especially now, like now, I think it helps that women that now have that outlet that where as opposed to times past, like oh my god, a woman riding a motorcycle, it was really like oh my god, but now it's like it's not so much a novelty. And I think it helps young girls now look at it like, hey, I can do that. I can go racing now. I can do this now, or on a motorcycle. And it's really you see societal norms being broken down, and honestly, it sounds cheesy, but books like yours, the book that's coming out by you, Easy Rider, it's gonna help little girls. They get their hands on that book and say it's on a coffee table and look, Mama, look, a girl riding a motorcycle. Mama, I can do that. I want to do that, and that's gonna help. And I think it's going to better society personally. A little in books like yours. I think it's going to be. I think this book is going to be monumental.
I hope so. I mean, it's really been like super humbling how the set has really been excited about it. And, I think a friend of mine had said something that just like almost made me cry a little bit. He was like, when we're dead and gone, my grandkids will pick this up and they'll see what this bike life was about. They'll see that we were here doing it, and this will preserve our memories. And I was like,
That's
oh,
that's what you're
that's
doing.
exactly what I wanted.
No, that's what you're doing. You're documenting history, and it's the history. And I think he said that, or that person said it. I'm sorry, that person said it, and that came from the heart because for so long, like I said, even for me, it's been so long we didn't see that representation. You don't see it on TV. You don't see it. I didn't see it anywhere until just recently, and now that I know that it exists. And you're documenting it. I mean, there's a couple books, but you're documenting this period in time, and yeah, you're going to be the trendsetter. I mean, you're the one that's setting it, and I think that's why they were so eager to talk to you because like somebody wants to know our story. Yeah, we'll give it to you unfiltered, uncensored, and that's what's so beautiful about what you're doing. The only thing I say to you though is I want a part 2 where you go West Coast.
Fair enough. I mean, a few people asked me during the process, like, okay, are you going to do this like nationwide on black? Because black motorcycle clubs are everywhere, just
Yes.
like the white clubs. They are everywhere. And I was like, okay, well, I would need to dedicate another 10 to 15 years of my life for that. I'm just gonna let me focus on New York for right now, because that's already like big enough.
Yeah.
I want to do it right. I
Yeah.
want to do it right. I don't want to do it superficially. So I was like, okay, let me focus on New York for now. I will say, speaking of West Coast, and I wanted to bring them up anyway, um, East Bay Dragons out
Yes.
of Oakland.
Yes. I was gonna get to that, but I knew you went up on me, so go ahead.
Yeah, established 1959. They're an earlier like all black club that's still around. I mean, there were many clubs that came earlier, but I say in terms of clubs that still exist. Um, I actually went out to go meet them. I was out in California for my brother's wedding, and I was like, I am way too close to the Dragons not to give them a call. So I did go out and meet them. I left my brother's wedding reception. I was like, sorry, I'm gonna be a little late. And I went to go meet up with them at their clubhouse in Oakland. And it was such an honor to meet them. And, especially given, I just wanted to mention how these black motorcycle clubs, it's not just about the history of motorcycling either. They're intertwined with, I mean, as individuals in these bigger stories too, like how the East Bay Dragons, their clubhouse was right down the street from the first Black Panthers clubhouse.
Wow.
And they were very close friends actually. And sorry if I'm telling you stuff you already know. I'm
No,
just saying it
please.
for everyone here.
Please.
Um,
Go on.
like they actually, because the bikers and the Black Panthers both looked so badass.
Yeah.
The bikers, the Dragons, were actually being arrested because the police thought that they were the Black Panthers, and vice versa. But they were close friends, and they helped them serve those breakfasts to the school kids in the mornings. They were actually really tight, and they did a lot of the community work with the Panthers as well. And I think motorcycle clubs don't get the credit that they deserve for their role in politics and community service too, because they're usually just a little bit under the radar.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, I mean, hell, I mean, the line between good guys and bad guys is so, blurred right now. I mean, the so-called good guys, are they really good? And the so-called bad guys, they almost really do more good. The way society portrays, say, the motorcycle clubs as gangs and this and that, and then like you had access to them, and you see they're helping kids, and they have the toy giveaways, and they're doing stuff for the community that the government's not doing for the community. I mean, if they don't help them, who's gonna help them?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'm pretty sure this was national news because I saw it out here in New Mexico, but there was a big fire in the Bronx like
Yes.
a week or two ago.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Quite a few people died, and what do I see on my Easy Riders feed? I see all these clubs organizing drives for coats, shoes, toiletries. They're all raising money and supplies for the people who were affected by the fire because this is their city, this is their community, and they're going to help where they can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to quite a few community service events, which I photographed. A few of them are in the book. I was in New York visiting in November for a week, and I went to this cool Thanksgiving dinner that a club did at a homeless shelter. So they're always out there. They're out there so much more than your average person, actually. And that's something that Church Lady brings up in her interview.
Yeah.
Something that attracted her to the clubs. She's like, they're more organized than your average person. They're already like this structured group. They've got their like rank of commands, the president, the vice pres. They've got the people who are used to organizing events, getting this big group of people together, and they're ready to deliver those diapers to the shelter, or put on that meal, or collect coats for the homeless. She's like, they do it more often. They're more ready to help than your average person.
Wow.
So
I think that's great, and that it doesn't get enough. They don't get their flowers enough, if you ask me. I mean, it's true because I think society will always have that stereotype of what a biker's like. I mean, I feel it when I'm riding, when I'm just riding. I'm not even close to that, but you just feel people. I mean, there's the good part of it because I have conversations with people I probably wouldn't normally have. You know what I mean? When I'm traveling, I have people come talk to me, and and I'm glad to talk to them, and they talk to me about stuff I didn't know. Like we were talking about the biker club in Indianapolis. I remember when I was in Sacramento, getting ready to come back to Indianapolis. Going to drive cross country, and this guy comes over to talk to me. I'm at McDonald's. I just want to drink my coffee so I can get on the road. And he starts talking. He goes, man. I remember when I, rode across country for this veterans to Washington, D.C. on my motorcycle. He goes, I got to Indianapolis, and these black bikers got to the point where, they basically guided me to their clubhouse. He goes, we partied there for 2 days, and then I went to D.C. I mean, just stuff like that you don't hear. I mean, you always hear the bad stuff, but you never hear the good things. And I think that's what this book is going to do, is talk about the good things.
yeah, that's awesome. And there's totally that biker solidarity, which is so cool. And I think it goes across. I mean, with the exception of a few of clubs, which we all know about, there is that biker solidarity across races, across sex, across all of these different things. And actually, one of my interviews, a guy named Austin Johnson, Brown Sugar, he just passed
Yes,
of
I saw
COVID.
that. I'm
So
so sorry.
everyone, please be safe. And
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Austin was the most amazing person, so full of stories, and really a repository of Black biker history. He
Yeah.
was incredible. He talked about riding cross country from San Francisco back to New York in, I think it was 71.
Oh.
And the movie Easy Rider, I think that came out in 69. He had seen that film recently,
Yeah.
and he was like, I'm getting ready, like black guy on my chopper, like getting ready to drive across country through all these states I've never been to before. He's like, I was ready to get shot off my bike, like in that movie.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, but I just met like amazing people on the way. Like
Yes.
in the middle of nowhere, I have this guy flag me down. He's like, your boots are like flapping like a dog's tongue or something. Like his boots were coming apart. And they're like, let me give you a new pair of boots. Let me like, let me help you fix your bike and send you on your way. And he's like, it was like he had an incredible experience. So yeah, there's a lot of good in the culture that I hope that people can appreciate after reading the book.
Now that's great and all, but how about just a little bit of that gully, a little bit of that, oh, like,
A little bit of dirt.
yeah, a little bit of dirt. When you saw something, you're like, oh shit, these dudes are real. Like, I better get out of here now. Like, did you see a little bit of that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I
No names.
thank you for bringing that up because I want to, mention like, yeah, this book is about celebrating this culture. That's the number one priority, but I'm also, like I said earlier, like I'm not here to censor anything. Like I'm here to show how it is. And life is complicated. Life is not black and white, right? There's a
Right.
lot of gray tones in there.
Right.
And,
Right.
definitely in the interviews, and you'll see this in the photos as well. The New York culture is going through a lot of change in the last couple decades.
Mhm.
There's some messy politics. There are just a lot of clubs popping up, some outlaws getting involved in the regular clubs, and there's, wherever there's money,
Troubles.
there is trouble. So
More money, more problems, as Biggie Smalls would say.
yeah,
More money, more problems. More money, more problems.
yeah. So, we definitely touch on the things that could be better
Yes.
in the scene.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's with the intention. Like the bikers bring that up with me in the book because they fucking love this culture and they want it to be, the best that it can be. So, we talk about those issues. They're there.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know if I want to get any more specific right now.
I
But
love it. Now I respect it too. Like I said, man, this is my alter ego. If I wasn't such a pussy, I'd be one of those guys. I really would be. But I'm a Gemini, so I just have to. I'm a nomad. I would love to ride with him for a certain, from point A to point A and a half, and then I'd be like, all right, guys, I'm on my way. You know what I mean? I just like that. I like to ride him, but I like to be by myself. And there's nothing against anybody, but I respect it. I love it. I want to be it, but I know I'm not going to. So that's why I'm living it through you right now. You know what I mean?
if you're in New York, let me know and I'll hook you up with some people. And
I love
you
you're
can
giving
take
me the
that ride
hookup.
with them and then go your own way.
You're getting me to hook up with black bikers. That's what I love. Hey, you need to hook up, BT. You need some place to stay. Need something new. You come talk to me. I'm Kate. I'm your girl. so what was your nickname?
I'm not trying to be the godfather here,
What was your name? Was it Katie D? What did they call you? Did they give you like a nickname?
I was like photo lady sometimes. Yeah, or just Katie, I don't usually it was like photo lady or like, who's that girl taking the pictures?
That's great. I mean, honestly, I think, oh, here comes old photo lady. You know what? Better be photo lady than the flower girl. No one likes a flower girl at the club. No one likes that. So better be photo lady than the flower girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, at least the whole reason I got Instagram, I didn't even have Instagram, was for the bikers. Cause I was like, I wanted to share what I was doing, but I was like, how do I reach like so many people? I meet so many people at every event. So that was a good way to connect with people. And then people could be like, oh, okay, this is where these photos are going.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. Cool. I like this photo of me, so I'll let you take my picture next time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find a lot of misogyny? I know, even though we're in different times now, and women are doing their thing. And did you find any interrated clubs with women, or did you find like there's still old school attitudes toward women?
I hung out with plenty of clubs that were like co-ed clubs,
Mm-hmm.
which was cool. And those clubs definitely prioritized, it was their opinion that, we're here for brotherhood and sisterhood. And then there were, like the one percenters are going to be all male.
Yeah.
And some other clubs are going to be all male too, just because, and maybe it was in their bylaws or maybe that's how it panned out. But And those all female clubs. And it was interesting talking to the women bikers who were like, because they were the ones, I think they were a little bit more open with me about that side of it.
Yeah.
They were kind of like, like one of them said to me, I was thinking about joining a club. I went to this club that was co-ed, and like these guys were just trying to sleep with me, like, and flirt with me. And like, that's not what I'm joining a club for. I'm joining a club because I want to ride my motorcycle with like-minded people.
Right.
And for her, that ended up being an all women's club because it was just less distracting. It was more about the riding.
Right.
And then it became a lot about the sisterhood as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you definitely have some, I think, backwards attitudes towards the role of women. But I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge. Like, there's motorcycle tradition,
Right.
which is cool. Like if
what?
people
Like what?
know what they're
Like
what?
what's the motorcycle tradition that you knew you were getting into? Like, oh, okay, that's just what they do.
Okay, so you see, well, I don't know if this photo is going to make it into the book, but there's, you see those vests that are that say property of.
Right. Okay. Yes.
And that's like the traditionalists, which I respect motorcycle tradition. That's all cool. Like, they're like, look, this is the purpose of that. It's not disrespectful. It's meant to, it's actually a badge of honor for this woman.
Right.
That's what they will say.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for me, that language, especially for like a Black woman, right?
Yes.
Like, that language is tough to swallow.
Yes.
So
I can see it bothering you. Yeah, I get you.
But it that exists in the traditional motorcycle world, and you can choose to be a part of a club that subscribes to that or not. There are plenty that don't. So it's all, what I think is really cool about the community in general is that there is a lot of difference of opinion between these clubs, but they're all like, you do you, and we're not going to judge. Like, we're going to just do our own thing over here.
Nice.
So.
Oh no, what did you think of the? I saw pictures of the. I don't know, strippers, but they were, with the little, getting their money and they're, getting
bike washes.
Bike washes. Yes. What did you think of that when you saw that?
I actually love bikini bike washes.
Really? Kate, I love you already, Kate.
I'm not all, all like PC over here, because this is what I saw at the bikini bike washes. Like, I saw there were men and women there. Even people brought their kids, like it was just like, it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the afternoon, on the street outside the clubhouse. Usually the women are like hired strippers, but they stay in their little bikinis.
Yeah.
They don't strip down more than that from what I saw.
Yeah.
And everyone just like has a good time, dance to the music, wash the bikes, like tease your guy friends for getting a little lap dance, and like it was a good time.
I love it.
But I've also done a couple photo projects on like strippers, so I have a soft spot.
I saw that. I love those pictures. I saw that. I love those pictures because those are like, I like behind the scenes and the stuff that, it's not so much the glamour, it's the real. Like, I think I saw the dance. I think they were drinking a Coke and they were at a table and kind of like, all right, here we go. And I love that. That you can't get no more real than that. And then they got to paint the smile on and go, be, the clown and entertain. So I loved your pictures. I think they're so. I think this book is going to be iconic, to say the least. I mean, it's going to be just, man, what you're about to do. And the reception you have from this book, it's going to be mind-blowing. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's going to be mind-blowing. And when this is over, I'm definitely going to order one. I'm not just whistling Dixie. I'm going to order me this book, and I cannot wait. So, and this, man, I got so many more questions, but we have to go. So, man, of all the things you've seen, if there's one thing, and this is a big question, but if there's one thing that just stands out of the 5 years photographing, things that you saw, whatever, what really stands out for you?
Oh, damn, that's tough. I wish I had more time to think about it, but okay, real fast, off the top of my head, one of the most significant days for me of shooting this project was the Bikers for Babies run. This was with an outlaw club and their associates. I saw 300 bikers come and bring diapers and baby wipes. They filled up a huge truck with these diapers and baby wipes. They've been doing it for over 20 years. I rode on the back of someone's bike up. We rode from Brooklyn all the way through Brooklyn into Lower Manhattan, all the way through Lower Manhattan. This is a line of 300 bikers following this huge truck of supplies. You know, we go by World Trade Tower where there are all these tourists who are taking pictures, and they all turn around to the street and start taking pictures of the bikers, and like with their eyes popping out of their heads. This line of 300 bikers going through the entire city, all the way up to Harlem, to this shelter that they've been working with for over 20 years. I think it's like 25 or 27 by now. Where when we get there, there is a line around the block of families who anticipate the bikers' arrival every single year, and they line up outside and they're ready to greet them, to pick up their supplies. They're so grateful and happy to see all these tough looking outlaw bikers roll up. And then they formed a little assembly line all the way to the door and are just passing the diapers in. And that was an incredible day.
Wow.
That was a really amazing day.
My God, I could see it really affect. I mean, I can only imagine. I could feel that from you just telling the story, man. That's awesome. Cate Dingley, thank you so much for sharing. You know what, man? We got to do a part 2 coming up. I think when it's coming out. When's the book exactly drop?
In April.
In April, man. You know, if I want to do a part 2, of course I'll annoy you. So if you want to do it before I annoy you, please hit me up, because I mean I want to talk to you.
No, you're not annoying.
I would love
it was great to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, I could talk to you all day. And I mean, and I want to do a part 2. Might do a part 2, Wyatt. I'm serious, man. I just this is what I love. So anyway, thank you so much, Cate. We'll talk a little bit when we get off the air.
Thank you, BT.
Thank you so much. And the book is Easy Riders, EZYRYDERS. Talks about New York City's African-American motorcycle clubs, 5 years in the making. I've seen little snippets of this book. It is going to be life-changing, and I promise you that. And she has done you guys proud. Cate Dingley, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching Tales from a Gemini. If you guys want to see part 2, hit me up. Hit Cate up on her Instagram, and we'll get it done. And you know how I say about this time. You know the word, peace.